Hi, this video is part of Latin for Beginners, a self-study course which uses a traditional method of classical Latin instruction and emphasizes reading skills. The course is based on a public domain textbook, Latin for Beginners by Benjamin L. Duge. The text may be found at gutenberg.org, and a link is in the video description. There is also an online practice tool, as well as additional resources and materials for the course at selfstudyclassics.com. This video covers Lesson 10 of the text. Videos on Lessons 1 through 9 may be found in the Latin for Beginners YouTube playlist or in the Videos section at selfstudyclassics.com. These videos are meant to reinforce the concepts presented in the text with examples, not to replace the text itself, so you'll get the most out of the video by reading over the lesson before watching. Lesson 10 continues the coverage of the second declension with a discussion of how and when adjectives should take on second declension forms. In this video, we'll work some exercises that involve concepts from the lesson. Here is our first exercise. We'll translate into English the sentence, Amicus meus agricola in vico habitat. As our understanding of the Latin language increases and we get more comfortable with the forms of individual words, we can take a more sophisticated approach to translation. We can address sentences at the phrase level instead of at the word level. Latin will often arrange words in natural groups, attributive adjectives with nouns, prepositions with objects, etc. This makes it easier for the listener or reader to figure out which words are closely related. Taking these groupings into account will often eliminate some of the ambiguity that arises when we consider only the forms of individual words. Amicus and meus, for example, can be taken as a unit. Meus follows amicus directly because it has an attributive function. Amicus is in the nominative here, and it means friend. So meus is also in the nominative, and it means my. So we have my friend. Agricola is kind of hanging out here by itself. It's a noun in the nominative. Whenever we see two nouns of the same case in succession, we should consider the possibility of apposition. In other words, agricola, or the farmer, is simply another term for my friend, which I am appending here for the purposes of clarification. In vico is a prepositional phrase. In is the preposition meaning in or on. Vico is the object, and it means the village. So we have in the village. Habitat is a verb. It is singular in form and agrees with amicus. It means lives. Altogether, that is, my friend the farmer in the village lives, or my friend the farmer lives in the village. Great, let's move on. Nautae clari ad Rhenum lätum properant. Let's identify the first phrase. Nautae clari is two words in the nominative plural, one a noun and another an attributive adjective. The endings are different because the words are in different declensions, but they actually agree because they are both masculine. The base of nautae is nauta, which means sailor. The base of clari is clarus, which means famous. So we have the famous sailors. The next phrase is ad Rhenum lätum. Ad, of course, means to, and is a preposition which takes the accusative. Rhenum is that accusative, and is therefore the object of the ad. It is the Latin name for the river Rhine. Lätum is an adjective that follows and agrees with Rhenum. So it looks to be attributive. It means wide. Putting these words together gives us to the wide Rhine. Finally, we have properant. It is a verb in the plural form and agrees with the subject nautae. It is from the base properat, which means hastens. So we translate the plural form as hasten. So all the words together give us the famous sailors to the wide Rhine hasten, or the famous sailors hasten to the wide Rhine. Okay, let's look at another. Constantia marci boni servi parva non est. On to the first phrase. Constantia marci is a pair of nouns, one in the nominative and one in the genitive. Constantia is a noun meaning steadiness. The base of marci is Marcus. This construction looks possessive, so that gives the steadiness of Marcus. Next we have servi boni. Servi is a noun that follows right up on marci with the same case and number, so that looks like apposition. Boni is an adjective that agrees with servi, so that looks attributive. The base of servi is servus, which means slave. The base of boni is bonus, which means good. The sense of the genitive was already rendered by the of earlier in the sentence, so this phrase is simply the good slave, an additional descriptive name for Marcus. At the end we have parva non est. Parva is an adjective that agrees with Constantia all the way back in the beginning. Since it's so distant, it looks like a predicate adjective. Its base is parvus, which means little. Non is simply an adverb modifying est. It means not. Est is the singular of the verb to be. It agrees with Constantia and links it to parva. The meaning of the phrase is therefore, is not little. So altogether we have the steadiness of Marcus the good slave is not little. Which sounds fine, just the way it is. Okay, on to our last exercise, which is, as usual, English to Latin. A new town in Germany gives money to the people. Let's do the English phrase by phrase, just as we did the Latin. A new town. Town is the subject of this sentence. The Latin base word meaning town is oppidum. This is a second declension neuter noun, so the nominative singular form is simply oppidum. New is an attributive adjective. The base word for new is novus. But it must agree with oppidum and take on the neuter gender, so it becomes novum, and the phrase we end up with is oppidum novum. Now for in Germany. This is a prepositional phrase. In is a preposition. It is the same in Latin as in English. Germany is the object of the preposition. The Latin for Germany is Germania. Since it is the object of in, and in is being used to express location, we need the ablative singular. So we have in Germania. Moving on to gives money. Gives is a verb. It needs to agree with its subject, town. The Latin base for gives is dot, and we'll leave it in the singular form. Money is the direct object of gives. The Latin base is pecunia. But we need the accusative here, so that would give us dot pecuniam. Finally, we have to the people. This expresses an indirect object relation between gives and the people. The Latin base meaning people is populus. Notice the Latin word is a collective noun. That means that even though the word signifies many persons instead of one person, we keep it in the singular. So the English plural people is rendered with the Latin singular populus. But since it is the indirect object, we need the dative, which is populo. So the whole phrase to the people becomes simply populo. Altogether, we have oppidum novum in Germania dat pecuniam populo. Let's rearrange it to respect the default indirect object, direct object, verb word order. That gives us oppidum novum in Germania populo pecuniam dat. That will do it for Lesson 10. As always, the best way to achieve mastery of these concepts is to work a lot of exercises, and you can find plenty over at selfstudyclassics.com. Head to the practice section and choose Lesson 10. Once you feel confident about the Lesson 10 material, keep an eye out for the video on Lesson 11 of Latin for Beginners. Thanks for watching.